All right. Welcome back to the East Coast Adventures Dirt and Vert podcast. I'm David.
And I'm Matt.
And we don't have a special guest today because we're going to give you a recap, a little bit of our weekend and also of our races that we've covered over the last few weeks. So speaking of that, we'll just go ahead and let Matt start with his race. Matt did the Firewater 50K while East Coast Adventures ran a aid station there. So Matt was going for is that the third time you've ran the 50K?
That would have been my, third time.
Third time. And what was your goal?
It was under 5.
5.
Wasn't under 5.
Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your day and how it went?
Well, it started out, a normal race morning, scrounging to get everything together and get out the door. Getting the kids and Brittany, which Brittany is actually ran the team relay this year with David Cow. So, getting her stuff and my stuff all together, and get out to the race site and hang out with all the cool people at the start and watch the 100K start. And then we get down to the start line and everything felt great. There was no soreness, no aches, no hip stuff, nothing. Felt great. And then we line up. Kathy gives this great speech, and then she just suggests maybe starting at 12 o'clock the next year. I don't know. Depends on how hot it is, Kathy. If it's hot like it was, I'm going to say no. It's hot. And then we start, and first few miles went great. Fast. And then I try to back it off because I'm like, well, I can't hold this.
Define fast, Matt.
Well, it was like an 8 something, and then a 7:55, and then
was that the plan?
No, wasn't playing.
Okay,
plan was
just
9.
Making sure.
Plan was 9, and so then after the first 2 miles, I'm like, okay, we can't hold this. Or I can't hold this. So then I dropped it back to the 9s, which I was in front, so I tried to back it off with everybody else. Because there's 4 of us that took off. 4 of us took off in the lead pack and started that fast. But we backed it off back to 9s. But my heart rate kept staying high. I noticed it when I was looking at my watch, but I felt good. Like
your heart rate was staying high at running 8s?
Yeah, well, that's what it usually does. It stays high, but it was high, like 175, which I don't think is high running fast, but it was high. It felt high, but it felt good. So everything went great. Did my salt tablets every 35 minutes, goos, and then I had goo in my
So how long was it before the race went bad?
Oh, I made it to about mile 11, 12.
Okay.
Everything felt good up to then.
And how long did you run that 8-minute pace for?
Oh, that was only the first 2 miles. Only the first 2 miles. And then we dropped it to 9s. Yeah, but somewhere past the golf course, I felt like my calf kind of goes. It was a little tight. They went like a little cramp. I'm like, well, that ain't right. I'm taking my salt tablets exactly how I'm supposed to. Taking my goos exactly how I'm supposed to. I definitely rehydrated and hydrated multiple days before and leading up and day of. And then we get to Glendale. We get to Glendale. And then that's when it kind of like a little more cramping. I'm like, okay, well that's weird. And but when I first felt it, my calf, I took more salt tablets. I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and get ahead of it before it really hits my thighs or any of that stuff. Because once it hits there, you can't run. The calves, you can kind of take that. I think you can take that pressure off by using more of your thighs or your hamstrings. And so I was trying to get ahead of it, and evidently I never got ahead of it.
And you don't think it could be from the way you started the race, Matt?
Nope.
Really?
Nope. So, because I went out faster last year.
Okay, so I'm just thinking like your salt you said's right.
Yep.
Your nutrition's right.
Yep.
Your hydration's right.
Yep.
And you did everything you planned on except starting the race the way you wanted to start it?
Well, yeah.
So you don't think that has anything to do with it?
I truly don't. Because I went out faster last year. Last year I went out faster.
Do you think you might have trained a little different last year?
I might have trained a little different.
Okay.
Yeah. I might have trained a little different. But I don't think my body should have shut down in 9 or 10 miles or cramping in 10 miles. I'll get into it later, but I think I was sick going into the race, personally. Because before the race, a week before I was sick, then after the race I was sick. I think I was sick. But anyway, it's no excuse. I sucked. I sucked. So anyway, I get to past Glendale, and then it wasn't just cramping at that time. It was throwing up. Like, I made it to the other side of Glendale, about to go around the bend, and my stomach just said nope. And so the salt tablets that I had took at Glendale came back up, and so I waited a little bit, about 15 minutes before I tried to take more, trying to get my stomach to settle down. And then I made it to Koi T, and I wasn't feeling that bad. At that point, I made it in, and Nick saw me, and then Nick looked at me, and I'm like, "Yeah, stomach went to crap, started cramping." And Nick did get some good photos of me coming across the bridge, which is cool. And at that point, based on my calculations, I was still on pace for a very good time, but I could not hold that run during that 4.7 mile section of 700 feet of climbing. Couldn't do it. So I walked a lot, and then Melinda caught me. That was the first time that somebody caught up to us other than the first 4. And Melinda's like, "Matt, what's wrong?" I said, "Oh, just cramping, throwing up." She's like, "I got salt tablets." I'm like, "I've took a bunch of salt tablets, and it's not fixing."
All I know is when you made it to our aid station, you were dead.
Oh, yeah.
Like there was nothing.
I walked in, and I sit down in that chair, and I'm just over my head just thinking. I'm like, everything that could, like, why do I feel like this early? And it was quick. Like, it went from great, everything was great, and then it just boom hit.
I totally should have took a picture of you because I could have made all kinds of memes from that.
You could have. I was in my head thinking, I was replaying everything, thinking, why am I sucking? I suck. Pitiful. You know how you get you get in your head thinking you're awful. But I eat some food. They gave me some chips and some Coke.
Yeah, I tried to get you to take something,
and the Coke's always good. And then was the next section's 3.7 mile section to Lauderdale. Wasn't too bad. I ran most jogged. Wasn't running, it was jogging and throwing up, jogging and throwing up, jogging and throwing up. And then you get to the worst section of the whole course, in my opinion, is the they call it like Jackson Bend. I don't call it that. I call it Lauderdale. But
well, it's Lauderdale section. I think the actual part of the campground in that area is called Jackson Bend.
I don't know. They call it Jackson Bend, 5.1 miles. But I call it Lauderdale. And that section sucks. It really sucks. It's where most of the climbing's at.
So at this point, is your calf still hurting?
Everything's hurting. I was cramping on my inner thighs by this point.
Were you still throwing up?
Yep. Throwing up. Cramping. I'll tell you this. I made it to the bottom, or to the other side of that section, you know, where you come out and there's the boat ramps and there's that little fire pit right there. So I caught Brittany. She actually left before I did at the aid station. David Kyle did very well at getting her a very good first half. So I'd caught her in the section, and this other lady, Holly, I think is her name. And then what's Mary's athlete's name?
Was that Amanda?
Amanda, yeah. She had caught me right before this. She had caught up. So she was the only person that did catch me in that whole last section. So I was moving, just wasn't moving well. And so I came out of that little section onto that gravel, and I threw up like death throw up, and I literally thought I was going to pass out. Like I felt like everything was crashing, and then I opened that gel pack, and I'm just squeezing it. Like I got to get something in me because it's felt like I was going to pass out. And then I walked up that hill, up to the trail, and jogged all the way to Peterson, and got some more Coke from the holders. They had nice cold Coke. It was great. And then it was a run, walk, jog, rest of the way, all the way in, until I caught Brittany at the power station thing up there, the tower, and that Holly chick was right in front of us, and we caught her again at the bench. So me and Brittany actually never get to run together, like in races. And so we thought it'd be pretty cool if we finished together. Even though I was sucking, it'd be cool to finish with her for the first time. But then once we caught Holly and I was running, we were leaving back out. She was gaining back on us. And then a couple more 50Kers came, and I looked at Brittany and I said, I got to go. Like, I can't, like, I've already sucked enough. I've got to try to, I can't let these 3 other people pass me. So I left, and then I finished 7 hours and 29 or 27 minutes later. It was awful. My second worst time ever at Firewater, other than my first time at Firewater.
So you finished 7 hours, 29 minutes.
Yeah, somewhere.
What did Brittany finish?
She finished like 5 minutes behind me for her relay. Maybe 5 minutes, something like that. Yeah.
You left her for 5 minutes.
I left her 5 minutes in 3 places. And then I came back. David Kyle was down there waiting on us, and my mouth was so dry that I couldn't swallow. It was just dry. And I said, I need some water. And he went and got me a water. As soon as it went in, it all came back out. I'm sitting on that little bridge right there. You're going across up to Wildcat. Yeah, I was sitting on that bridge throwing up everything.
So what's been your fastest time at Firewater?
5:28.
And you were 7:29. 7. So you're 2 hours behind.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Like how have you processed that, and how do you feel about it?
It sucks. I don't know. I don't know, like move on to the next one, I guess, because I've had other races. I had one last year, same concept, in a marathon where I cramped up after a half marathon, like everything shut down. It was awful. So I mean, I don't know. I can't do nothing about it now. I got to keep moving on to the next thing.
Well, and that's the thing that really matters is you can't hold on to it. I mean, we're all going to have bad races. We're all going to have, high expectations. I mean, I tell Mary all the time, confidence is not my issue. It's the ability to go with my confidence.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing to think the most about is you're going to have a bad race. You're going to have things go wrong. And, I think it's good to have an expectation for yourself when you're going into a race.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes that expectation can cause you to have a really bad race, because if it doesn't start out the way you want it to, it leads to a lot of just disbelief in your training, disbelief in what you've done. Just like you sitting there in the middle of Sinking Creek questioning life and, wondering what's going wrong. And it's all because you expected to finish that race in less than 5 hours. That was the goal, correct?
That was the goal.
So at the end of the day, it's just a race. Yeah. I mean, the training, the work you put into it, I mean, that's the real piece. That's the real key. Some races are just going to be bad. Some are going to be really, really good. And, we just got to keep doing the grind. And honestly, it's the work every day that matters.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, after I got done, and Brittany, after I threw up a bunch more, I actually did wait on Brittany, and we did recross the finish line with her. So we did get some pretty cool pictures from David Parks and David Kyle, of that. So, even though my race was awful, I learned a few things during it. Even though you feel as bad as you do during the race, and you don't want to keep going, you're like, oh, "That's just stupid." You had the goal is gone. The next goal after that was to finish the race, because I don't, when I know that I can still finish something or still move, even if it's not as fast as I want it to be. I know that by me still moving and still doing that I'm learning something from it. So at the finish line, when Brittany and me and her crossed the finish line together, that meant a lot to me, and I know it meant a lot to her.
Yeah, I saw the picture. I thought the picture was really cool
because we never get to do that.
Yeah, I
So maybe that's how it was supposed to be planned out. Matt had big goals. Matt sucked. Matt got to finish with his wife and have a good memory with it.
So. I mean, you keep saying you suck, but you didn't suck. I mean, what was your very first year you ran it? What was your time?
8 hours and 14 minutes.
Okay, so I mean, there are times that it's going to be bad. There's times it's going to be good. At least you finished.
Oh, yeah.
I DNF'd my last race. I mean,
well, I don't think that didn't go across my head a lot. While I felt like I was going to pass out, I'm like, I can just call it right here and be done with it. But
I feel like there's a lot of, that race for you.
Yeah.
I feel like that is what makes you grittier. It's what makes you want to do more and do better. Having a bad race to me is a good thing, because it tells me that I have not done something right and that there's room for improvement. I mean, having great races, it's awesome. It's where everything clicks and everything comes together and everything that you put into play worked.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen in every race. So when it goes wrong, that's when you got to kind of start unraveling the mystery. And it's trying to figure out, did I start out too fast? Did I do something wrong? Or, maybe you were getting sick going into the race. But at the end of the day, you're going to, you learn something from it. And even if it's learning that, it's, you didn't pace yourself right, or maybe you were getting sick, but it's taking away that and coming back and learning from it and coming back stronger.
Oh yeah. I definitely learned out of it. And I've, thought about it a lot. So I mean, maybe it's time to get more serious with drinking more water. Now, all week this week, it's been nothing but gallons of water with some more salt in it.
Well, I had a lot of beer at Barncreek, so I'm still trying to flush that out while I was watching those amazing backyard runners.
They were incredible for the time that I was there. They were great.
Well, so what would you say as of today? And I know you've said you're still trying to figure it out, but before we move on, I'm going to ask you one question. What have you learned from that race? What is your big takeaway?
I don't know. The big takeaway would be just, even when it doesn't go exactly how you want it to go, like, because I had big goals with it being my first 50K ever. I don't know, was that 3 years ago? First 50K ever, completely bonking, in 8 hours and 14 minutes, to coming back and doing it 6 hours and 28 minutes, and then 5 hours and 28 minutes, and now 7 hours and 29 minutes, or whatever it was. Is that every race definitely isn't going to go how you want it to go. But I learned, maybe the training wasn't exactly where I needed to be because of the other races that we done all year. Speed work may not have been there. So maybe that did contribute to the going out really fast for it seemed like a long time, but it was really a short amount of miles. Maybe that build up. I don't know. We're going back to training this week, and Mary's got me a good plan, and we'll move on to a half marathon with lots of speed work.
Yeah, you're about to start marathon training.
Yes, lots of marathons.
Okay, well, let's switch gears just a minute, and we'll talk about Barncreek, and then I can talk about my race. But let's talk a little bit about Barncreek. So this weekend we just finished up the inaugural year of Barncreek Backyard Ultra. We had less than 20 runners. I think it was right at 18 showed up.
Mm-hmm.
We had 5 of those 18 get 100-mile buckles.
Pretty good numbers.
I mean, yeah. So when we uploaded the results this morning and got them sent in to Laz for the stuff, he actually responded to the message saying that for 20 runners, those are some pretty amazing results for, that race.
I mean, I thought it was. Right before I left, I think it might have been Julia's dad. I'm not exactly sure who it was, but he said he was sitting over at his house and watching the runners come through. And he asked, how many do you think is going to be here if this? And I'm like, well, looking at the field, just my thoughts, I said you'll probably have 5 reach 100. Just guessing, just throwing it out there because I figured Chris and Kyle would both be there. And then Sean Campbell guy, he looked very strong the whole time. He came in with a low heart rate. He kept talking about his low heart rate. I figured Brandon, and then I was really hoping Micah was gonna be there. I didn't really know the Ryan Fortenberry from Kentucky.
Well, he ran No Business, and Chris Stamen talked him in while they were racing
to doing it. He came down here and did great. Yeah. I didn't know him, but he was coming in early with lots of time. He was, for a long time, he was the first person back, and he had 20 minutes or so of just sitting there, just hanging out. So he looked good, and I was hoping or thinking that he would make it. See, David Lane, he put pretty good numbers as well. 70 miles?
That's really David good. Lane was 70 miles, 6 overall. Yeah. So our 500 milers were Chris Stamen with the win. He was the last man standing. Kyle Calbus with the assist at 116. Sean Campbell was third with 108 miles. Ryan Fortenberry was fourth with 100, and Brandon was fourth with 100. So we had a fourth and fifth place tie.
Yeah.
Micah was seventh. We had obviously David Lane 6th. We just talked about him. Micah 7th. Josh Miles 8th. Our first female was Heidi Poor in 9th, and then Chaz 10th, and then the second female was Cindy Atkins, and then 12th place was David Kyle. So it just keeps going on down the road. But one of the names that I see right here right now is Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
So Tyler's longest run ever was 7 miles.
Yep.
And he come out and completed 8 loops? 7 loops. No, 8.
He's 33 miles?
Yeah, 33. So he finished 8 loops and timed out on his 9th loop. So he finished with 37 miles, even though the last loop didn't count. But
him and Marty walked in together.
A 30-mile PR. Yeah, Marty McCarter, he had his PR too.
Yep.
So they both PR'd at the same time. Pretty impressive.
And then Josh. I think Josh had done a marathon.
Yes.
That was his longest run. And what did he get? Josh Miles. He 62 miles. Yeah, so he did it.
Well, and that's like Heidi. Heidi's longest run has been it was 13 miles. So she come out and she didn't have any expectations. She did 62, and that's kind of like Sean Campbell. He'd never ran 100. He's never ran anything of that distance. He didn't know how far he could go, and to be honest, he could have went further. He quit.
That's what
he said. I'm happy with what I've got.
Yeah, he could have went a while.
That was his first belt buckle. So that's pretty. That's just awesome. We had some really good runners, and I got to say, we had really strong runners, and that's a testament to this region and this area. There's a lot of really good runners around here. East Coast Adventures long run, we're pretty blessed with knowing some of these runners, and we're just excited that you all come run with us. And then this course, man, this course is a PR course. It's 200 something feet of elevation gain over 4.1 miles. So I think it's definitely going next year. It's going to gain a lot of traction and attention.
You got 18 people and 5 of them get 100 miles. I mean, that should say something about, hey guys, come out here and see what you can do. I think the right people hear about it, and it'll go for a while. Especially with Chris not knowing exactly what to do in a last man standing, and he still came out and put that many miles up. Let some of these people who never done a last man standing, or the first time, like Brandon, first time, Micah, first time, Stamen, first time.
Yeah, Stamen's first one, and he's running, even on the very last loop, he ran a 33-minute loop.
Yeah, I saw him. He started taking off on those loops. What'd you talk to him? Tell him pick it up?
Yeah, well, we had a conversation in the middle of the night. He was in a rough spot, and he picked it up from there.
He looked fast.
Yeah, he, and we all need some help at some race, and that was his. He's normally self-sufficient, and he was self-sufficient. He just needed some direction, and those races, that's what they're known for, is one bad loop.
Oh yeah.
And that one bad loop can take you out. It doesn't matter how good of a runner you are. If you get in your head, if you have a bad moment, you can let that get to you and not run your own race.
Well, he did great. I mean, all of them guys out there did great. There's a lot of first for the last man standing. So
yeah, it was a fun time too. Like I liked RDing that. It was
a little easier than us at the fort, running around with 4 different times going on and people coming in. A lot more laid back.
Yeah, so I pulled up Laz's email and he says, "Wow, those are some impressive." As soon as I say that, my phone goes off. Wow, those are some impressive distances for a 20-person field. I hope the event was enjoyed by all, and word of mouth is the best advertising for a backyard, and you have a great place for a backyard ultra. Yep. And that's another thing too. Like that is an awesome, private property. Oh, yeah. There's campground hookups and everything, or RV hookups and everything. It was awesome. The course is awesome. It's a little bit of trail, a little bit of road, a little bit of pavement. So 4.1 miles, you don't really change. You don't have to change, courses or anything day and night. We ran the same course the whole time, and I think next year there's going to be some big numbers thrown up.
It was also pretty cool. At one point, the dirt bike people right beside us, they had stirred up all this dust, and it was like a movie scene of some of these runners just coming through it. It's like an action scene of them running through, and everybody's sitting up there like that. That's pretty cool. That would have been some really great pictures if somebody was taking them. It looked pretty cool. Because, I mean, the dirt bike people are going right beside it. So, like, for the spectators that are watching the backyard, it's pretty cool just to go over and watch them dirt bike people, do all their jumps and everything.
That was cool. Pretty cool.
I know Addie liked it. Addie and Donovan, they both liked it.
And, I thought it was pretty awesome at the very end. I mean, Chris and Kyle, they're 2 good athletes. Mm-hmm. And getting a picture of them and seeing them both, neither one of them were, and here's what's the most impressive part. Neither one of them were 100%.
Nope.
They've both got a lot of miles on them, and, Kyle's messed his foot up. And I mean, Chris just finished multiple 100-milers back to back to back. And I mean, that was impressive. If they were both healthy, there's no telling what they would do.
It could be a long race.
So it was fun, and Ethan and Julia, that was their first experience RDing a race. They did great.
I think Ethan liked it so much that I think he's going to try one.
Yeah, he's already signed up for Mad Backyard in January.
I mean, it'd be great for him with that, keeping that heart rate down. Oh, yeah.
Well, we'll see. Ethan may be running 7-minute loops out there.
That's true.
He may be like Stamen.
He may, he is like a 5-minute something, runner. So he could be done and resting for a long time. And it's in the code for him, so he'll love that. As long as it doesn't rain like it did for half the race last year.
Yeah, it was. It was a rough race last year, but y'all did good.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, and then I guess we'll finish off this conversation with no business.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So,
Let's hear about this.
I know that we interviewed Stamen, and me and him were both talking about the no business, and Stamen did good. I think he ended up
fourth
or fifth, right there. Yeah, he was fourth or fifth.
I think he was fourth.
Was he fourth?
Yeah, he missed it. I think
Just barely.
I think Andrew caught him.
Oh yeah, I think you are right. Yep. But no business for me did not end well. It didn't even start well. But
tell him what the start looked like.
So whenever we lined up, obviously me and Stamen and a couple others, Justin, everybody were all up front. We take off because when you take off going this direction, you go down a hill and you got a creek crossing. So on the way down, I'm probably top 4 or 5. We're all running about like I was last year in the lead pack. And when I crossed the creek and just took off, I fell a few times. I fell on the bridge, and this was a different bridge. That wasn't the bridge that took me.
How many bridges were they?
There was a lot of bridges. But ultimately, like when we got on the gravel the second time, my foot was hurting. So I don't know if I hurt my foot when I fell those first couple of times. I fell on the side of a hill. So there's one picture Nick took of me where I've already like one whole side of my knees covered in mud.
Is that in the first mile?
It was like the first couple miles. Yeah. First mile or two. It wasn't far into the race, but I had already fell like 3 times by mile 4 or 5. So, but my foot started hurting really bad on the bottom, and I thought, oh no. And then after I get to, I just slowed down, and I was, which was my plan anyways. My plan was to get out front across the creek and then just kind of try to hold my pace that I had in my head for the rest of the race was what I wanted to try to do. And I just never had it. So after those first 2 or 3 miles getting out and going, it was a lot of work just to run that pace. And last year that was the easy part. Like I didn't have it. And then when I got out on the gravel, like trying to run 9 and 10 minute miles, they were like 11 and 12. And I just felt like I couldn't ever make my legs work. It just felt like it was a lot more work than it should have been. And the bottom of my left foot was just killing me. Some people might say it was my shoes, but I don't know.
Where they?
I mean, I was wearing the Vivo Barefoots, and I've been training in
barefoot shoes.
But I think it was probably the start of plantar fasciitis. What I've been
fighting that PF since 4 3 sisters.
Well, I've never had it.
Well, mine goes away during racing. Mine comes when during training, and when I'm just sitting around. That's when it comes. But during the race, no. Like Vol State, I had it before Vol State, pretty bad. I was like, this sucks. Vol State, 350 miles, not one time. It's gone.
Well,
2 weeks later, it's back.
It hit me. It hit me at like mile 4. And my ankle was hurting. And then the outside of my ankle started hurting too. And I didn't know if that was all connected, but I could feel it in my heel for sure. But it's still, even with that, it just wasn't there. And then it's a very humbling experience when you just watch everybody run by you and you can't do nothing about it. Like I was like, okay, well, it's going to be a long day. Let's just get that buckle. Yeah. And it never clicked. It never hit. I mean, if you see a picture of me at like mile 13, I look like I've already ran 100 miles.
I'll be honest. Mary sent us a picture of you walking up that hill on that gravel. And I saw it and I'm like, he just doesn't look right. He just looks tired. I never said that. Some other people said that. And I didn't want, if you did look at your phone, for you to read that. But when I saw that picture, I'm like, he looks tired. I don't know why he looks tired, but he looks tired. And I was expecting you a lot earlier from a picture from Mary.
Yeah.
And there was no early picture. And that continued through different stops. I was getting pictures of other people, and there was no pictures of David. And yeah, I knew something wasn't right.
Yeah, and I mean, you sit here and make excuses all day. There's no use in making excuses. So, I had a really stressful week at work.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
Yeah, it was even up to trying to do the podcast and then working again after that. So I was on the phone the whole way to the race, but none of that changes the fact that it just wasn't. It wasn't ever clicking. Yeah, I had plenty of stress going into the race.
Yeah.
But around mile. Man, I'm trying to think. It was around mile 30. I just lost it. Maybe it might have been even in the 20s, and I had nothing. I started walking, and a lot of people started passing me, and finally I started talking to myself in all kinds of ways you can imagine. I was so frustrated. I was even yelling at myself at one point, and I started running. And I started running, I don't know, probably 9-minute miles. And I did that for about 7 miles, maybe 7 miles. You'll see it in my Strava probably. I've not even looked to see it. But I took off running, and I think it was Keith had already passed me at that point, Keith Overbay, and I called him back, and he's like, "There he is," and I was like, "Yep, might as well run." And that, like I said, that lasted for like, I don't know, 7-8 miles or so, and then I just fell apart. I think that made it even worse. I was just, it was awful. Mile 50, I was like trudging along. I was still running. I wasn't walking, but I was still running. But all I could do was like 12-minute miles at best. And I hit that bridge and fell and rolled my foot at like mile 51, 52. I was going up to Laurel Hill. And from that point, my day was so bad, mentally exhausted, foot was hurting, and I got to the aid station and iced my foot, and they're like, "Well, you going back out?" And I was like, "Maybe." I was like, "How far is it to the next aid station?" When they said 9 miles, I just said, "Nope." And I dropped out right there, and there was a busload of us that dropped right there, so there was quite a few. So it wasn't the race that I planned or expected. That would have been my 10th 100-miler, or that at least been my 10th belt buckle. I've ran more 100-milers than that, but if you count my backyards and Vol State and others, but that would have been my 10th 100-mile belt buckle. But it would have been my both direction belt buckle too. Like I would have gotten the double buckle. So I'll have to go back in 2025 and reclaim that.
That gives me time to train after all these marathons to come back with you. So, I mean, that's a good one.
Well, and one of the things that, you definitely need to run No Business with me.
Yeah, sounds good.
But one of the things I thought about in that race, and even this come up at Barncreek, but it's like you've got, for what we do. I mean, some people think we're crazy to run ultras, like that don't run at all. They think it's kind of crazy for us to do this, and to me, it's something that it's part of who I am now.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you've got to have a why. Why you do it. And I don't know, some people lose that why. You might start out with a reason of why you do it, and it changes to other reasons as you progress through life and running. And if you ever lose that why, or your why changes, that's okay. But if you ever lose the why, that's when, some people just stop running altogether. And when I was out there, a couple of things like, you can get in your head of like, why do I even do this? Why do I run? And that's when you got to remind yourself of who you are and what you do and why you do it. And if you don't have a why, you need to find out why, because that's what's going to save you in these races that are going bad. And I don't know if you've ever given that much thought to why you run, Matt. But
well, I mean, there's lots of reasons that you tell yourself why you're running, but I think ultimately, for me, it comes back to I've always searched for something. always searched all through high school with sports. And then after that, it was weightlifting, and then me and my cousin raising chickens, trying to find something to do. But then when I met you guys, um, I had to quit running for a while, even though in high school I loved it. And I found once I got back into it, some of the events that East Coast Adventures put on in the beginning, it made me everything was at peace when I was doing it. It was hard. It's very hard at the beginning, but for me, I think the why is this is my happy place. Even though you're suffering, throwing up, and all that, like when I go out there and just run or just be out in the woods, or even if it's on road stuff and it's faster, I'm in my head and it's my place. It's where I get to release everything from day to day, from all that. Like when I go out there, it's just a place where I get to be me, and it's like life anyway, where some miles are easy, sometimes life's easy, sometimes life's hard, sometimes the miles are hard, but you're always trying to figure it out, and that's what I love about it. It's when it's great if you go out there and you're trying to be great for everybody else, to be on social media and everybody sees how great you are. And some people do it for that. But you can check my social media. I don't post a lot. It's randomly post when I do post, but that's not it. It's for me in my headspace. That's why I do it, and I love it. Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, Matt, and I'm glad that you figured out your why, because most people that haven't, it makes it very difficult to ever finish these races.
Well, even if you don't have your own why, like if you don't have a good race, that's one easy way to say, well, I don't want to do this no more. I didn't have a good race. I don't want to do it no more. That's not what I want. That's not how I look at it. I have bad races. I've had multiple bad races, but that doesn't, that's not going to make me just stop running. It makes me want to train harder. And even if I'm not training hard, it's the time that I get to go be by myself. I get to go run, even meet new people and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the time that you get to be, you get to be you.
Yep.
And you get to work problems out in your head, whatever it is you're doing. That's your time to be by yourself and do whatever it is you need to do. And I was pulling this up earlier, and I wrote this like in 2021. So we can end with this if you want.
Well, we got to talk about Gone Loco too.
So. Yeah.
So go ahead and read that, then we'll do our posts and stuff.
But I wrote this. Someone asked me before, and it made me think. But it's like, why they asked me why I ran, and I'll share this on Facebook. I'll reshare my post, but I run because of the here's what I wrote. I run because of the struggle and the challenges that you face. At the end of the day, it's a race between you and you only. It's a battle within yourself and your mind. It's why I do it. It's just like life. It's not easy. It's never going to be. My daughter's seen me in a lot of pain and emotions in these races, but she's never seen me give up. She sees that I keep fighting. As she grows up, I want her to fight. You're going to have highs. You're going to have lows. You're going to have dark times that seem impossible. But the bigger question that you always have to ask yourself, life, running, anything, is did you fight? You want to quit, you can quit. You want to fight. It's your choice. Life, running, career. At the end of the day, you either succeed or you fail. The question you have to ask yourself is, did I give it my best? Did I fight? Failure is going to happen. It's a part of life. Just walk away knowing you gave it your all. And I mean, there's a lot to be said in the last part.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing, me and Chris had a little bit of this conversation at Barncreek, and I just, that was what I asked him. I was like, what are you going to think about yourself in the morning?
Yep.
You had a goal. Your goal was to get that buckle. You can figure out the rest after that. But when you wake up in the morning and if you don't finish, will you have any regret?
Yep.
And, that's the thing that gets me in a lot of these races. And it's why I don't DNF very often. But I always just think about myself in a race and I'm like, it's going to be over.
Mm-hmm.
And, like if you think about it, like 24 hours, 30 hours in the grand scheme of things, it's not really that long.
It's not that long.
Having to live with yourself for days and weeks of regretting that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I thought about that a lot during Firewater.
And I still kick myself just a little bit about no business, but I wouldn't have wanted to hobble along for 30 plus hours. But
injury is different than just not having a good race and just calling it because you're not having a good race. But I mean, if you're legitimately injured is different. But some people, they'll be like, well, I didn't have a good race. What happened? Oh, well, my miles weren't doing good. My pace was slow. Are you hurt? No, I wasn't hurt, but my race wasn't going good. Could you walk? Yeah, but I wouldn't have got the time I wanted. That doesn't matter. I mean, you signed up for this race. You know that you may not be perfect the whole time. I think this is just me. I felt that way at Georgia Jewel. My race fell apart. But I jogged for 30 hours of that miserable monsoon at the last half. I mean, I don't. For me, if I'm able to walk, able to move, I'm going to try to finish. Yeah, like Firewater. I'll tell you, when I was sitting in that chair and you're looking at me, in my head, I've thought about it that whole last 2 miles before that section. Here's my people. I could sit right here. David Kyle's going to be coming in. David's sitting up here, and Mike's going to be here. I could sit right here up in that little aid station and be done. I thought that in my head for about 2 miles, but then once I got to that aid station, I was going like, I know, give me my salt tablets, give me some throw up Nazim or whatever it was. Let me chew those for a while, and I'll go jog for 13 more miles. I don't know. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's at the end of the day, you've got to figure out what works for you.
Yep.
And that's maybe different for everybody. And it probably is. It should be different for everybody. Everybody's why should be slightly different because none of us are wired the same.
No. And in your post that you made a good point about Callie, about her seeing you struggle and not quitting. I look at that a lot with my kids. I want Addie to see me. I'm not going to force her to do stuff. Like I don't force her to go do the 5K that she's done, or the 1 milers that she do, or the summer track stuff. But she sees us do it, so she is surrounded by people who do this stuff, and she wants to do it. I think that's another thing that I really want the kids to see. I'm not going to force them to do sports, even though that's what I want them to do. I'm not going to force them to run these races. But when Addie asked me, Daddy, when's my next 1 miler? That's what I want. I hold that close to my heart when she asks me stuff like that. I mean, it means a lot. I think that's another reason or why that I do some of the stuff.
Well, I mean, when kids, especially your own kids, just like with Callie and with Addie, it's life is going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
And to see your parents struggle and to not give up and to figure out a way to get through it, I feel like that's the right direction. Some people try to hide things, and I'm not giving parenting advice by no means. I'm not going there, but I'm just saying I think it's great for kids to see the struggle and that not everything's going to be ideal, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to have every answer, but what you're going to do is you're going to fail and continue to fail until you don't, and they don't see you giving up. Because I don't want her to ever give up.
Nope.
You know, she has her own struggles, and we talk about those sometimes with whether it's basketball or whatever. You know, she's a teenager, so her struggles are a lot different than my struggles.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, she's going to fight. And that's what matters to me.
Yep.
You fail and you fail until you don't. And when you don't fail, that's short lived, because I guarantee you're going to fail again very soon. That's just life.
Yep.
And to have a bad race, to have a bad day, to have a bad day at work, a bad season, you know, they're going to happen. It's up to you to figure out how to get through it. And, you know, I mean, sometimes we need help to get through it. We can't do it by ourselves, but you just fail and fail and fail until you don't. And you just keep fighting until you succeed. And then you get over that, and you're in a season of where everything seems to be clicking and seems to be right. And you kind of ride those waves in life up and down. And that's the same way a race is.
Yep. I agree with that.
That's my soapbox. Let's talk very last conversation real quick. We have a race coming up in February.
Yep.
Gone Loco.
Gone Loco.
So for everybody that doesn't know, East Coast Adventures, we have a race in February called Gone Loco. It's in Athens, Tennessee. It's on the Eureka Trail. It's very much like a mini Virginia Creeper Trail.
Yep.
It's a rails to trail system, very flat, very fast. We offer 11 mile, 33 miles. And it's definitely a PR course, wouldn't you say, Matt?
Well, I would say so.
Matt tries to run it every year and win it.
I've ran it 3 times now, and we'll say that I've got better every time. But it's a great course.
And I think James Bernard is like a 2 or 3 time champion, isn't he? Has he won it?
He's won it twice. He didn't do it one year.
Okay.
I don't think he did it. He got the course record of 4:47, and then he barely made. This is how nice James is. So last year, I was winning for 2 laps. It's a down and back. It's like 5.5 miles down and back or something like that. And so the first lap, me, him, and Michael Morrell were running together, and watching all the fast people up front, wondering how long they were going to hold that. And then, you know, everybody starts splitting off after the first down and the down and back. Everybody starts kind of splitting off. Anyway, the race goes on, and we're on the last mile and a half, and I'm dying, but I'm trying my best to hold like a 8-minute pace because my 7.5s have just gone, and I've already threw up a whole bunch. And so the last mile, I hear somebody coming up behind me, and it's James. And he comes in, and nice he can be, so let's run this in together. And I was going slower than what he was able to run, and he offered that, but I'm like, nah, dude, go get the record, because he missed it by a minute or so. And during that time, he was hanging back there with me, trying to get me and him to run together. And I told him no. I said, I'll chase you, but I can't hold the pace you're holding. So I tried to chase him for 2 minutes, and I thought I was going to pass out. So I backed off, and I'm like, I'm just going to finish, because I was a solidified second. But that's how great James is. He's got the course record, and he could have broke it again last year, but he was trying to get me to run.
I love how James shows up rocking the old school headphones too,
like the 1990s. Plug in your phone headphones, and he just same pace.
He does it
the whole time, and he's nice as can be.
Well, we hope that some of you come out and join us. It's definitely a fun event. You'll probably see some people dressed up as costumes out there dancing at the finish line.
Or on the course. I saw him on the course. Saw April multiple times on the course.
But please come join us. So it's early February on a Sunday, 11 miles, 33 miles, Gone Loco. You can find it on Ultra Sign Up.
Yep. And last year it sold out like a month out. It was sold out, and then we had to do some finagling to get everything, because the parking lot there is not very big.
Yeah, so about 100 little over 100 is about all we can hold.
Yeah.
So I think we're only at like 30 or 40 right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now, but then once everybody decides to start running marathons, they'll all start signing up for fast races.
That's right. Well, guys, thank you all so much for listening in. We hope that you're enjoying this podcast. We're slowly getting better at it.
Yeah, I'm actually starting to talk more.
But thank you all. Any feedback that you ever want to give, please just shoot us a message. And, we hope you enjoyed the message today. We'll end with this. Nobody cares.
Run faster.
I got a little worried because the microphone thing's not working.